And I would even say, even when you're actually working with the consumer, it's probably even that much more important for you to be able to show them a bigger vision. Let's say that you're a relationship coach. Every dollar that they pay as a consumer is so much more than a business. So if you're asking for $2,000 as a relationship coach, for example, that is an enormous amount of money for a customer who is not used to spending that much money.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 462. And today you're going to discover a very simple and highly effective process to triple your pipeline in 30 days. You're ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, expert entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, authority amplifier to expert entrepreneurs ready to transform their message into millions. And I have a guest today who literally is doing that. I am so excited to share this guest with you. I've known her for years. We've done some work together recently. She's going to share with you a proven strategy she's been using with her clients for years. She's been using in her own business. And I can't wait to share it with you. Now, this is going to be about filling your client pipeline, and it actually helps in a lot of ways to reactivate previous clients, move leads to the finish line that maybe, the ball got dropped or they weren't quite ready. It's really cool what she's doing with this. And one of the tools that I want to share with you to help complement what my guest today is going to share with you is the unignorable framework. Now, this framework, combined with what Mandy's going to tell you, is literally going to accelerate your visibility turning into money, clients, opportunity, and everything that you need to get into momentum. Now, this framework is exactly what I've been doing for the last 25 years to move out of invisibility and into being an unignorable expert in my field. And this proven process is what I have taken thousands of clients through to help them add another 6, maybe even 7 figures to their business. So head over to melaniebenson.com/framework and you can download it for free. There's a scorecard that comes with it. This is going to help you get crystal clear what's going to move the needle for you right now. Welcome back, amplifiers. I have an amazing guest expert that is joining me today. You're going to discover how to triple your pipeline in 30 days. And I cannot wait to introduce you to her. Let me give you her official background. Mandi Ellefson is the founder of Hands Off CEO, where she guides service firms to break free from daily delivery, win 6 to 7 figure deals, and boost profits by as much as 600% by leveraging what she calls their invisible advantage. And after battling emotional and physical burnout herself, she rebuilt her business to create more freedom and then grew a multi-million-dollar net worth before the age of 40. Mandi, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited about bringing this conversation to our community. So welcome. Welcome back, actually.
Well, thank you so much for having me and inviting me back. It's really a pleasure.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we've been chatting a little bit about what you're working on, and I was just like, oh, there are so many people that need to hear this right now. This is, I don't know if I want to call it a golden egg or just like the golden formula, whatever, but, I was enraptured learning more about what you're doing with this. And so, yeah, this is very timely and very valuable for a lot of people. So let's kick things off. You and I were talking, and you were mentioning that most experts are sitting on a hidden pipeline. And for some people, this could be $500,000 in potential business. For some people, this may be $100,000 in potential business, but it's dormant right now inside their current network. Why do you think so many people are overlooking these kind of dormant opportunities?
Well, here's the thing is that the fastest path to an extra one or two high ticket clients that are already in your existing network. It's just most people don't actually know how to re-engage prospects without being pushy. They don't know how to elegantly approach past customers to be able to reoffer or ask for referrals without sounding needy or desperate. And they just really don't know how to be able to get existing clients and really excited about increasing their budget. So they have all these opportunities, but they don't know how to unlock them.
Yes, that's really what it is there's opportunity all around us. We, those of us who've been around a long time, we know that probably the fastest path to more cash is inside your current database of past clients or people that maybe never really made that decision to the next step, right?
Right.
And you said something that really felt like a key word here, re-engage prospects.
Right.
What does that mean?
Right. Okay, so re-engaging prospects, so like a lot of people, the way they go about attempting to re-engage prospects is they send these like follow-up. It's like these lame follow-up. It's like, hey, did you get it? Hey, just checking in, like those type of messages that just scream desperate. And they they will lower your authority. They will not actually move it forward unless they do work though. The reason why people continue using them is they do work under certain circumstances. They work when it truly is a matter of like timing or someone was on vacation or out for a couple months or something like that. That in those times, like that kind of follow-up can work, but pretty much every other time it will devalue you. And you need to have a way that you can reach out to be able to unlock these dormant opportunities in a way that will actually build your authority. And the thing is that there are 4 different ways. There are 4 different these hidden revenue wells within your network. And I'll just share with you them real quick, and then we can just do a deep dive into the stalled deals, because I think that's probably the one that's going to be the fastest for people to unlock right away. But one is your current clients. It's like, how do you be able to get your current clients to pay a higher budget? And there are certain clients that definitely will pay you more. And then the stalled deals. That's a huge opportunity, because how many deals in the past year or two have like just haven't gone anywhere? Probably quite a few. If you have a close rate of, let's say, 25%, what happened to the other 75%? Well, they were interested enough to actually engage with you. Something happened to them. Then the other one is past clients. How do you be able to re-engage past clients and get past clients excited? And that's a different process as well. And then also, of course, referrals, which I would prefer to look at as introductions. It's an easier way to get referrals as an introduction. So those are the 4 different ways, but the stalled deals are the one that I think we should probably do a deeper dive on today, if that works for you.
Yeah, I love that, because, and again, as you're listening in, I want to hear from you. This is one of those sessions or episodes, but I feel like it's a workshop really, and you're going to get so much valuable insight. But if you're listening in and you're like, yeah, I got all 4 of these, I got 3 of them, I got 1 of them, give us a little shout out on social media where you're listening to us and let us know this is resonating with you. Let's talk about stalled deals, because I think this is definitely an area where people have had that, not just the pain, but the confusion of what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I can do is I can share some scripts, and I'll be talking through the scripts. You can write notes on the scripts if you want, but also I'll be sharing a resource at the end if anyone wants to download that and have access to that. And the other 3 areas that we have some scripts for that too. But you do want to take some notes if you're near a pad of paper, because I'm going to be talking through the different ways that you need to think through this to be able to re-engage this, because this takes a little bit more work, and not a lot more work, but it takes a little bit of thinking behind how you're going to be able to actually open up those conversations again. And there's really a 4-word script that works incredibly well, but you need to be ready to actually blow them away basically in the next conversation. So here's the thing is, what you want to do is first just look at what the past opportunities that you've lost. So I mentioned that, if you have a 25% close rate, 75% of those opportunities, something happened to them. So list all those out and look at each one of those opportunities put a dollar value on them, and look at why didn't they close, and you might not know why they didn't, and they might even have told you, we're not moving forward because of this. This isn't the right timing here. Let's talk again in Q1, but that oftentimes is code for this doesn't really seem valuable enough to prioritize it right now, and we probably won't in Q1 either. That's really what that means most of the time. So what we need to do is we need to interrupt that pattern. So to be able to interrupt that pattern, we need to be able to look at this bigger vision that you can see for them. And looking back at your notes, ideally you have recorded your sales calls. If you're not recording your sales calls, start doing that right now. Not only is it really useful for you to be able to look back on things like this right now, it's also really useful for your team to be able to support you so you don't have to do everything, right? And so you have good records. But you're going to look back at each one of these opportunities and say, what is this bigger vision that I can see for them? What result might we be able to create if they gave us the focus and the budget? And then what might that be worth to the company? So it's looking at each one of those opportunities and the reason why I said to put a dollar value next to each one is because you're going to prioritize it based upon the size of the opportunity and like really how much you want the opportunity. Because some of them are just like, oh, this was just a golden deal. Why didn't this close? Why didn't this close? We really wanted this client. And then there's some that are like, we just dodged a bullet there, right? So,
right.
So it's prioritizing that, and then what you're doing is you're looking at how you can add value to this person, and a lot of times one of the best ways to do that is to have case studies. You look at what case study could you share that could give them insight. This is not about selling anything yet. This is about having something that you can actually share with them that's going to pique their interest. It's about a hook. And
this is really the prep stage. Yeah. This is about connecting the dots between who did I lose? Why do I think I lost them? What was the value of the opportunity on the table? And then, as you were mentioning, like connecting that to a place where you have solved that problem for somebody else, right? So this is prep. This is not doing anything with the prospect yet. Okay.
No. And how we have our clients do this is in a spreadsheet. We actually will have them do in a spreadsheet. We actually have another document that you just go through and you put it down into columns. That's like the simplest way, and you'll start seeing some patterns. And so once you've done this prep, and now you can follow up with a 4-word phrase. So this 4-word phrase, instead of doing the just checking in, which is really all about you. I'm checking in because I want something from you, as opposed to you getting into their world and saying, how can I be of service to them? So here are the 4 words, and then I can talk about how to implement it for each situation too, if that would be useful.
Yeah, so, totally.
So here's the thing is that, like, you say, okay, you reach out and say some variation of, hey, I've been thinking about your situation. I have another idea. I don't like that the phrase has so many I's in it, to be honest with you, but it actually does work. But I have another idea, right? And that's the main gist of it. And I want you to think about this, like everyone listening here, if you have a business, you probably have a bookkeeper, you probably have an accountant. And, if your accountant could come to you and say, hey, you know what, I found a way to be able to find you $50,000 more of profits in your company. Or save you that much on your taxes. Like, would you want them to just sit on that information? No.
No.
Of course not, right? Like, yet the problem is most accountants and bookkeepers, they are actually so like stuck on like the compliance and like the bean counting that they don't proactively look at how to actually add value to their clients, even though they actually have all the numbers right in front of them, but they don't actually do that. It's like one of the least innovative companies in the service business completely. But we want that out of our accountants. We want that out of service firms that work with us. So wouldn't it be fair that your clients, your prospects want you to have that insight too? So what we wanted to do is to be looking at how your client would look at it from their perspective when they're investing in their company. And we want to be able to get into their world here and really and understanding why did they ghost you in the first place. This is what happens a lot of times. A lot of times is that proposals are sent out. You have some conversation and it just dies, and they might just completely ignore you. And you're like, what the heck? We just had this really great connection, and they completely ignore you. And you can kind of get a little bit butthurt about that sometimes, right? Like it kind of hurts your feelings sometimes. But you just need to remember that, well, while on one hand it's not about you, it's actually all about you, right? In many cases, it's all about you. So it's all about what you didn't do, and the real reason why they ghosted is because they didn't see this as a timely or urgent problem, and they had 20 other things that they had to prioritize higher. So it wasn't personal, but at the same time, you didn't give them a good enough reason to actually stay engaged.
Yeah, that's the cornerstone of everything. Is if it's not relevant now, it's very easy to put your focus and your attention and your investment into the thing that feels the most relevant.
Right. And also, you can really impact that, and it's not. And actually, you can really overcome this too. So even if you had a really bad pitch before, you oftentimes can still overcome that later on with a much better offer. I know that because there's been plenty of times when I've like totally botched it, and then months, years later, they become a client because like I just had something that actually resonated with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can share more about this forward script if that would be useful.
Yeah, let's dig a little bit more into this forward script. And so, what I'm curious though, before you do, and we've been talking a lot about companies and businesses, I'm just curious, is there a version of this? If somebody had an end user or an ideal client who was more of a consumer based rather than a business based, could this also work for them?
Yes, yes.
I think so. It's just an adaptation, right? Like you adapt
absolutely
the script.
is. Especially if you're selling higher ticket services to customers,
Totally.
and you're selling solar, you're selling maybe a big landscaping project, you're selling this will work exactly the same.
Or personal transformation that you've got a higher ticket offer and people just aren't moving on it. Like, we can scale this down or scale this up, I think, in terms of your strategy here. But again, it's about what you're going to give us in some different versions of scripts, I think. Really thinking about the script that works for that unique person and what you're selling them. Okay. Back to you.
And I would even say, even when you're actually working with the consumer, it's probably even that much more important for you to be able to show them a bigger vision. Because the thing is that let's say that you're a relationship coach, and every dollar that they pay as a consumer is so much more than a business. So if you're asking for $2,000 as a relationship coach, for example, that is an enormous amount of money for a customer who is not used to spending that much money, or 5,000 or whatever that is, versus someone who's selling like a $20,000 service to a business, and a business is used to paying for those type of services. So it's actually even more important in that scenario. And this is actually what's missing from why a lot of deals stall, is that there's just not enough possibility built into it. So
I love that.
So here's some variations of the script. I said before, like, hey, name, I've been thinking about our last conversation. I have another idea that could be a better fit. Are you open for a quick chat? So that's like just really simple one. And you can also add in a case study if you feel you need to. And if it's more recent, you don't really need to. But sometimes it just depends on how warm they are. I like adding a little teaser hook at the end, and I'll kind of give you an idea of how you can do that to pique their interest. So if I'm reopening something that maybe it's a little bit colder still, but there's a relationship built, I might say something like this: hey, I've been thinking about where you're headed, and I see a way that you get there, that you might be able to get there a lot faster. So for example, another marketing company CEO that reminds me a lot of you, Jan, was able to raise her fees 353% and be able to retain clients 10 times longer. And it resulted in more than double net profit over 18 months. Are you open to a quick 15-minute chat to share how she did it?
Powerful. Now, here's something that's coming up in my mind as I'm hearing these words. And I can just imagine somebody listening and going, but where am I following up with them? So I want to make sure we circle back to that when you're done with your scripts.
Where are you following up with them? What do you mean
Yeah,
by
is
that?
it email? Are we sliding into their DMs? Am I sending them a voice message? So I can
Whatever's
imagine somebody.
appropriate.
Okay, so
Whatever's
maybe however
appropriate.
they
Yeah.
left the conversation, were they
Yeah.
communicating via email or voice messages or whatever?
Right.
Okay, got it.
So I mean,
That's a good
if
point.
you're in Instagram DM and that's like where your customers hang out, that's probably where you want to have this conversation. If you're in LinkedIn, maybe that's but you're gonna just know that this is what I would say in an email with a prospect that I have already been communicating with over email. And something like this, it does work very well. And here's the other thing too, is that if it was really cold, it was really, really cold, I might just offer to send them a podcast interview case study. Like, hey, happy to send you over the podcast if you want to see that, as a way to just get them to reply.
Good idea.
Yeah, because having an ask to have another call is a little bit more, but it does work, and we've used this many times. So the format basically is, a few of our clients are doing this and they're seeing this result. I think it could work for you too. Are you open to a quick call about it? That right there. What's really cool is not only do you get a call, but you can get a call really fast. You can say, hey, do you have 15 minutes over the next couple of days? Like, do you have 15 minutes to chat about it? And then you actually, when you get on the conversation and you get on a call with them, is you actually have something prepared to share with them that's insightful. Like, you don't want to do any bait and switch here. And you're not going into this with like, I'm trying to sell you something. Like, no, what you're doing is you've just reopened the conversation to talk about a possibility of this is what companies like yours have been able to accomplish. And this is what it's needed to be able to do that. Is that interesting to you? And then they're going to be like, well, tell me more about it. Then you can actually end the conversation like, hey, does this make sense to have a further conversation about this? Is this interesting to you? But you get them to raise their hand. You get them to be asking for more. You don't shove it down their throat.
Yeah. This is so good.
Much?
I love this. No, it's so good, Mandi. It's in a way it's simple, right? It's just the way you're organizing it and the way you're structuring it is so powerful and so effective. I think if this is not your area of expertise, you don't realize that these 4 words open up a new conversation, and that's really where the magic happens.
Right. And you know what? And one of the things that, as I was reflecting on this, I'm realizing that I was just talking to one of our clients this week, and he was just sharing today how he just reopened a conversation with a past client that was like, they had paid them quite a bit, but it had just fallen off, right? And he didn't quite know how to be able to move from where they've kind of gotten to the friend zone into like re-engaging. How do you have that conversation? And what was really holding him back was like, he didn't want to be seen as like transactional or predatory in any way. So what happens is that like, we can skirt these critical conversations and leave a lot of opportunities on the table, not to mention like that this company, he could help in such impactful ways. But unless he makes the ask, unless he shows them a vision, he's not going to be able to do that.
I have a alternate scenario that is emerging that it could potentially be in the minds and thought process here of somebody listening. What if they don't necessarily have a case study of how they know they can help that client? Is there a twist to how you might do this forward script and this follow-up that would work in that scenario?
So if they don't have a case study.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a relevant case study that they can access, but they know they can help this client.
Right. So here's the thing is the case study is the easiest way to do it. Now, you might not have the case study. And if you don't have the case study yet, start making your business be about generating case studies, because that's going to be the thing that's going to help you grow your sales the easiest in the future. And you'll be able to charge higher price points as you have more proof. And not only the proof is nice externally, but it's also really nice internally too, because it gives you confidence and it allows you to be able to show up more powerfully. So how do you be able to show up powerfully if you don't have that yet? And I think that's what I'm hearing you ask. So you can still share a big vision without that. And I'll just share something with you. I think that your audience are the kind of people that would resonate with this. So when I first started what is called Hands Off CEO now, it was called like Mandi Ellefson at the time. That was like what the business was called, right? And this was 13 years ago. And I had my first client, and I remember he had what his vision was, which was this business, this smaller vision. And then I had for him a much bigger vision. And I took out a thank you. I took a thank you note, and I wrote a letter from Paul to me. So I wrote, "Hey, Mandi, thank you so much for helping me be able to grow my company. So we were able to sell our house, and we were able to live abroad and take our family all over the world and be able to grow my company and have it run without me." And like, so, and I wrote this little thank you note to myself, and I added all these extra little details in it that were way beyond his vision. And then I like sealed it, and then I opened it up a year later, and everything had happened and more. It was so exciting. And at the time, this was 13 years, I didn't really know how to do some of those things. I didn't know how to do them. So I stood in the future, and I looked at what was it going to take. So I would just invite listeners here to think bigger for your clients. And your job is to help to give them a bigger vision than they have. And we have it's just like a dry desert out there right now for possibility, because everybody's listening to the news and the media, the sky's falling, and like what they're looking for is leadership and someone who can be able to see a further pathway. And you can see this pathway for them, even if you haven't done it before. You just look at what is success, what do we need to have in place to do that? Say, I see this is possible for you. I don't know if it's possible yet, but you know, are you open to having a conversation about this? Because I see that you have X, Y, Z in place, and if we put these things in place, we could be able to get here. I wish I could give you a better example off the cuff right there.
That's great. But I'd love that. No, I think that's so powerful. And so what it is, it's really about going to the vision always. What's the bigger possibility that maybe they can't see for themselves yet? And then asking the question, you know, if the deal is stalled. So vision, ask the question, back it up with a case study if possible. Is there anything else to this before I move on to my next question for you?
I think we've about covered it, but maybe if I think of something else, we'll weave it back in.
All right, we'll circle back. Okay. I wanted to ask you something that was coming up. I know a lot of people, this is where the service provider, the consultant, the coach, whatever they are, they stall out with this kind of default of, I'm just checking in. Did you get it? Did you get the proposal? Right. Or how you doing? Right. And I know I have. Why? I've heard you say that's like not powerful. That's not going to work.
Right.
Tell us why.
Yeah. So as I was just mentioning, it works under certain circumstances, which is why people do it. It works when they actually legitimately need a reminder. Mm-hmm. But that's a very small percentage of the cases where they just need a reminder. Really what it is that they actually need to be able to see some signs of a deeper level of confidence. So and that's actually one of the things that sets apart the top 5% in any industry, is that when clients go to them, they have a very high confidence that they're going to be able to solve their problem, and they have a bigger vision than they have for themselves. Now, that's why they pay more for them, right? So that's what your prospects are looking for. So we need to have a follow-up, a way to be able to follow up with them that has that energy in it, that has that conviction. You know what? I had a prospect in my inbox just yesterday, actually, who one of the things I sent him one of these kind of messages with something along the lines of of some different case studies, and hey, I saw this might be interesting to you, because he'd responded about an executive briefing that we were doing. So I kind of was going back and forth in email with him. And one of the things that he remarked was that, like, I asked, you know, what was resonating to you about this topic? And it's like, that's just me getting curious, right? What was resonating about this topic? And a lot of times people will tell you such gold when you're just curious and you actually ask. And he also responded because I gave him some, I dropped in there. You know, a lot of people are running into this kind of challenge, like, what was interesting to you about this? And then he went and he shared like this big paragraph of all these different things that are going on for him. And also he's just like, it was just refreshingly bold and confident. And like that's and what he was saying was that like there's just not many people that are coming out and having with this bold and confident message. And another way of saying that is that he saw possibility and he saw a vision for himself that other people aren't providing. So when we follow up, we want to be coming into that energy, and we want to be reading the follow up that we have from the perspective of like, what is this bigger vision that we see for them that they can't? Instead of looking at, they're going to hire us for a website. They're going to hire us to do this coaching, or they're going to hire us to advise on this particular strategy. Instead, look at this and like, what is this future vision that they want to get to, but they may not even know is possible? And speak to that instead of the service thing that you want to do for them, because that's really what they care about.
Yeah, it makes sense. And one of the things that I think we all know right now is just because you follow up with somebody a couple times, and even if you were to use this script, that doesn't mean they're going to say yes right now. And you and I were talking the other day about like follow up and really owning follow up and knowing how important it is. What did you say that formula was? Like this really stuck in my head. It's like so important to remember to get out of our own limiting belief about following up and recognizing how important it is.
Right. So like you said, you're not going to you're almost never going to get them to say yes right away. It's just not how it works. You will sometimes, but your job is to build engagement and to build familiarity and trust. And then and you're going to be building a pipeline of these different opportunities that are going to close when the time is right for them and when it's aligned, and you're continuing to show value. And there's a formula, this that you were mentioning, 7-11-4. And this actually comes from research from Google that they did for online purchases. And 7 hours of interaction, 11 touch points, and 4 separate locations. That's what it takes to build trust, that what they have found from their research. Now, this was done at least... This came out at least 5 years ago, which means that it's probably double now. Especially the higher the ticket it goes, you're going to have a lot of interactions and a lot of touch points. So the vast majority of business really is in the follow up, and it's about us really being able to get over ourselves with whatever's in the way and whatever's stopping us from actually doing that. I mean, I actually had some real mindset around this in the past. I was in this trap of this reinforcing my own limiting beliefs around, if it didn't close right now, it's never going to close. Like I had that belief because that's how it was for me. And this was a number of years ago, but I remember this client that I had a real big breakthrough on this, where we had a call, and then like maybe 6 months later, he came back and he was interested. And actually I reactivated it, is really what it came down to. I was able to reactivate that conversation. And now I realized that, you know what, you're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes. And you just normalize that and just recognize that it's just that you're being of service, you're building your brand, you're building your authority, and you're adding value as you go.
I love that. I love that we're bringing mindset into this, because I think mindset's such a big part of it, and to really feel empowered. And I believe what you're laying out for us gives us some of that empowerment, because we know what to do, but it's also just deciding I'm going to take ownership of reactivating leads.
Right.
And like, I want to talk about, and we're kind of ending up here, I want to talk about dormant relationships. Because there are dormant leads, there's dormant connections you've made, there's dormant clients who really had great work with you. I mean, I had a situation where about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a really big ticket client. We did some work together, and then they went away, and I reactivated them. I didn't know I was using your process, but apparently I was. And we did another, $15K, $20K worth of work together. And it does work. But what is the cost to the person listening in today of ignoring those dormant opportunities in their network?
Well, the biggest cost is that you're spending an enormous amount of time and energy generating all these leads instead of actually just working your network that can close a lot faster. So I think of this, there's three different main phases within the client attraction process in B2B. And I think in B2C, you could say the same thing, but you don't need as much on the second piece. You have attract, you have nurture, and close. Attract, nurture, and close. And what happens is so many businesses focus all on this attract phase, and they'll focus on the close side. And the problem is they're missing out on the middle. So what ends up happening is that when you're acting in the close phase, when you really should be in the nurture phase, you're turning people off. That's when you start getting into the salesy mode. And you really need to be in a place of service here where you are following up in really, I don't want to just say I was going to say unique ways, but it's not about being unique. It's about being able, it's about being effective, and it's about being compelling. So, and here's the thing is if you skip over this whole nurture phase, then what ends up happening is you're going to undercharge. You will undercharge because if you are only taking on clients who come to you and say, I want this thing, and I'm going to buy this thing, and you don't have the nurture piece, so you're missing out on an enormous amount of your leads that just like they just don't activate at all, then you're going to be in a place of scarcity and you're going to undercharge. You're going to be in a place where you have clients that you might be able to support on the next level that you're completely missing. And I think that's a great example, Melanie, that you had with this client. And you were able to, like, this person. I'm assuming it was she. I think you said she.
She. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a they. They were a couple, but
okay,
yeah.
Okay, so you were able to get them up to a certain level initially working with them, and now they're at a higher level, and now this is an advanced client where you can actually take them at a whole other level. And I had another example like that too, where we had a client that, you know what, year after we had taken him to a pretty good place initially when we worked together the first 3 years or so. And he'd gone from 600,000 to over 2 million, then 3 million, and he got into a good place in this company. But we disengaged, and they kind of felt like they were doing okay. And he would say, I'd bring him a vision, and he's like, no, this looks great, and then he's like, oh, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. And like again, brought it again, and he's like, oh, this is great, let's do it. And then we come back with no. I'm like, what's just happened here? So anyway, I think it was probably about third time it took on this. And then I actually showed him this bigger vision, and I leaned in this time and really said, what is holding you back from here? And what we found out is actually his manager that was stopping this. And, I leaned in and said, what is really, which is more important to you, being able to please your manager or be able to have this goal? And he decided, I actually want this goal more. So what ends up happening is that he re-engages. Now he's on track for a $10 million company. He has a much better manager in place now because his manager actually he jumped ship once he decided to work with us because he didn't want to be held accountable, to actually doing his job, But it took something. It took him being ready to really be willing to let this guy leave if he was going to do that, right? And that was so that wasn't anything about me at all. It was everything about his readiness and willingness to be ready to scale his company.
And in that same process, Mandi, what you're demonstrating to us is not giving up on somebody when they weren't ready the first time or the second time.
Right.
And to hold the vision even when they're not able to say yes to it yet.
Right. And that's been so much fun with him too, because I continue to see a bigger vision for him. He's come to our retreats and he's continued to see this bigger vision. And before even him seeing a couple $1 million company vision was challenging for him. And now he's seeing this company that's well beyond 20 million. And I know he's going to be able to accomplish that. So it's our job to just continue to hold the vision for our clients. And
especially when it's high ticket. Especially when it's high ticket.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, because we are stretching them sometimes, and we're stretching them into something that's bigger than they can see for themselves. Doesn't mean it's not right. It just means they're not ready, as you said earlier. And I think that's such a key key mindset shift inside of you as you're listening in today, I want you to check in, and I'm going to challenge you, and I think Mandi would join me with this, to do this process Mandi's laid out for you today. I want you to stop letting your dormant network, you're not knowing how, your lack of belief in yourself, any of that, the buying into the conscious collective that the industry is dead. None of that really matters. There are people out there buying, and they could be buying from you. So what if today you followed this process and you give Mandi and I a little shout out, whatever social media channel that you like, and you say, I did it and here's what happened. Like, let's make this happen, but you have to choose to buy into the possibility and the vision that Mandi's laying out for you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
And let's tell them, like you mentioned earlier, there's a resource that could help them with this. If we're going to challenge them to step into this and do it, I know you've got a great resource that'll help them. How could someone take that next step and reopen those dormant opportunities with a little guidance from Mandi?
Right. So, as I mentioned, you want to follow those steps. We want to make a list and use some of these scripts. And I have these scripts all laid out in this free resource, the 500K pipeline map, that will show you how to reopen dormant opportunities and land your next high ticket client in 30 days, even if you think you've already exhausted your network. And you can go to handsoffceo.com/amplify, and you can download that right away and start using it today. You can start using this today with your clients. You can start using this to reactivate, that proposal that's gotten a little dusty, that they haven't responded back in a week. You can use this to be able to look at your internal clients and say, who could we offer more value to? And that guide actually shows you how to do all those things at handsoffceo.com/amplify.
Okay, I hope you are running over there to that URL. We will link that up in the show notes. If you have to pause whatever you're doing and go download it on your phone, do it, especially if this is the next step for your business, for your work in the world. You want to have techniques that support you to do what's effective right now. So Mandi, this is the time in my conversation that I like to ask a couple of fun questions. We went deeper on this amazing process today, so I'm just going to ask you one. Okay. And I've had the privilege of watching you grow and evolve and shift, and just your work is so powerful, and I've loved watching you shift. But I'm curious, if you're looking back from today to the beginning of this journey, what's the boldest decision or action you took that you were scared to death to do at the time, but it ended up paying off so magically?
The boldest decision. I remember there was a moment where I think I was at around $100,000 a year or something like that, and there was a program that I had invested in a couple things, and it had helped me, but there was still some gaps around selling. And I went and I invested in this program, and I learned how to become good at sales. Actually, what I'm teaching right here, I learned from working with that mentor for a number of years and making my own process out of it. And what I've actually shared today, I have closed millions of dollars of sales just from this little script that I'm sharing. I've done that. And that was a big, bold move for me because I didn't have the money to do it. And I had just invested in this other big thing. And then I went and I invested in his next level program on top of that. And it's actually what helped him be able to build a $1 million company from that. And in a pretty short amount of time, actually. I'm not going to say it was overnight, but I've consistently built towards that. And I would say that it's really critical to look at the support that you need and to invest in yourself, really invest in yourself for what is it that you need at this next moment, and who's going to be aligned to help you do that. And I've talked a lot about case studies and all that right here. And it's also important for you to lean in and find the right mentor that you really feel good with, that is going to be able to support you at the next step. Because you can have someone who puts all this fancy stuff out there and has the most polished marketing, and they turn out to be an absolute jerk and they don't care about you at all. So when you're making big, bold moves, like really listen internally to know, like, is this my next step? And if you hear that little, it's my next step, jump on it, move on it, and figure out next how to do it.
Such great advice. Mandi, this has been awesome. I have full body chills just thinking about how amazing this is going to be when people put this into action. Again, make sure you go download this amazing resource that Mandi has generously given. I've had a preview at what's inside, and I can tell you these are the kinds of tools that can transform your business in a very short period of time. So Mandi, thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in today. Give us a little shout out. And hey, if this was a needle moving conversation for you today, share the episode. Give it to somebody else who really needs this information. Thank you so much, Mandi.
Thanks, Melanie, for having me.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.